Now we are focusing on ASEAN Data Science Explorer, okay? So you can see here, this is all the data. We have, for example, Gemini, every minute, 8,000, okay, 9,000 visitors. YouTube, every minute, 3 million people are watching YouTube, okay? Text messaging, every minute, 18.8 million, right? Google search, 5.9. Netflix, stream, every minute, every hours, okay? So you can see here, the data is everywhere, millions of data. So in order for you to come up with a very good solution, you need to know how to analyze your data, because data is there. Data is actually help us to understand about people, about company, about how to gain more profit and many things, right? Okay. So now we're coming back to our notes. Let me share the screen. So now I need to use the screen. Okay. So a little bit of introductions about the data. Okay. So this is our data. Data is everywhere. Okay. So we want to focus on the analytics. So what is actually analytic? Analytic is we want to leverage the data to generate actionable insight. So just now I show you data never sleep. So you have a lot of data around you. How you can make use of this data to generate actionable insight, meaning that to give you better understanding about the problem, to give you some solutions, or to optimize some process and so on. Okay, that is actually analytics. So you have data, but in order to understand your data, to make use of your data, you need to use analytics. So analytics is like a bridge between data and also solution or output or insight. Okay, it's a bridge that combine these two from data into something that can be meaningful. So it's very powerful, right? And data is everywhere. We always contribute to the data. As I mentioned, how Google, Gemini, ChatGPT become very good because of the data. All right, so that's why we need to know how to leverage our data. So imagine that you have a piece of Lego. Okay, so one Lego piece is like a singular data point. Okay, and if we have more data point, we combine it, we can come up with a insight. Okay? It can tell you more story about the data. Okay, example, we're familiar with online shopping, right? So in online shopping, we need to provide our information. We have to, register. They encourage us to register. And then from there, they collect all of the data. And then from the data, they come out with a recommendation system. So they try to recommend item that preferred by you. Maybe not only you, but actually they are looking for all of their customers. So they know their behavior, because human have their behavior is sometimes is a bit similar from one to another. Because of the data, they can analyze that. So this is how we not just focus on one set of data, but we focus on many set of data. For example, your demographic. Okay, imagine that the shopping online transactions. You not have only transactions in terms of the how many money you are using to buy that item. You know the item. You know the detail about the item. So they have a database about the item. Secondly, they have the demographic of the seller. They have the demographic of the buyer. Demographic means that their age, their gender, and so on. That is what we call demographic. Okay, so this is about data. And then after we have these all data, what we can do next? Okay, so we use some analytic use cases, right? So these analytic use cases, maybe we use for our business intelligence. We organize data to capture trend, to capture insight, to capture information. Business, so look at, you use your online shopping. So they know when you're going to buy this item. Okay, they collect all this data. They tap with the time. They have the time related data. So they know your detail. And then secondly is for prediction. For example, you can predict whether there is an anomaly or not. They can predict. For example, simple prediction is like weather. So we have weather predictions, and we have our goal to make sure it's consistent and reliable. And then what else? Planning, of course, we have planning. Okay, we have planning. In order to do the planning or the simulation, we need to have our data. So the planning become more practical and can be used. Not just, it's become it's not practical, meaning that because you don't know what is actually happening previously, and we will just suggest not practical solutions. Okay. All right. Okay, so this is what we notice, meaning that analytics is in our day-to-day life. Okay, every day is actually about analytics, but we don't notice. Even we want to make a decisions, actually we are using analytics. But sometimes it's because we are familiar with that data, and then actually we just mention, okay, it's raining today. So maybe what we need to do. So we actually, when we do a decision, sometimes we need some of the previous information or previous, we call it data or understanding. So then we can make a better decision. So that's why actually all of you you can become your own data scientist in your own case study. Okay, but in order to leverage more, so that's why you need to learn some tools in order to help you. So we know that analytics is everywhere. So you're familiar with the first icon, it's about Waze. Okay, it's for to drive. This one is for date. This one is for Spotify. All right. Nowadays, we are not really buy, I don't know, it's not your era, maybe CD and so on, right? So we are listening to the Spotify. Okay. And we have Netflix, YouTube to watch movie, to learn something new. Maybe we can learn from YouTube because they share their videos. And then to eat. This one is for weather predictions and also TikToks. So experience by similar individual allow us to discover similar interests and lifestyle. This is how we use data. Every time you use the application, actually they collect your data. That's why they give you to use it for free. Especially what? Especially the first one here. Okay, Waze. You can use it for free. You don't need to pay anything. But it's really helpful. Okay. For me, if I want to go from my city to another city, I need to use Waze. And I can use it for free. But they are collecting my data. Our data are being collected, and then they will monetize the data. That is actually how they make some money based on giving us free. That's why I mentioned to you, data is oil. Data is powerful. Okay, they give us free application, but they also gain profit based on the data. My student and also we analyze with data set formulation. It's a very interesting and very, the data is very huge, very big data, but it's interesting because we can see some patterns right through the Waze. All right, this is for the Netflix. Okay, if you're familiar, they already prepared for you based on recommend you the movies. Okay, but actually everything they collect, all the data, even the click on different movie, how many hours you spend with the movie, it will be collected. So based on this, they come up with the recommendation. So this is about the Waze just now. It's really helpful, and it's actually the predictions of the time taken for me to go to one city to another city is actually very accurate. Okay, almost similar. So that's why it's a very powerful tool. But we can use it for free. But actually, we provide the data, and then from this data, the Waze analytic team will come up with many other data products that they can monetize. Okay, very powerful. So, of course, what being tracked? They track your age, your gender, your location, your taste. For example, Google location. So they put all the food, the restaurant. So from there, you can review. So that is actually also interesting data. We also analyze that data actually with in my team, with my students. We analyze Google analytics tools. We analyze data because my city, I'm staying in Malacca. Malacca is a historical city and tourism city. So I really use the data to analyze about tourists and how we can improve the tourists. Okay, nice. And then, of course, you can see we try to track user habits, the community, the network, the political belief. Okay, now in Malaysia, we still have a, kind of this political, we have our, meaning that voting. So, of course, they really learn about data and look for the sentiment of the citizen. Okay, so then they can improve their, and of course, this is a very interesting data that you can use to improve their process. Okay, targeted ads. Okay, so by using this data, they can come up with a good advertisements, and it's more useful. Okay, not just what we call this, just prepare any advertisement, but the advertisement is based on the data. Where you want to put your billboard, it's very important. Not just, put anywhere. You need to study about the data. Who is actually using that road, for example? How you get that information? You can get from Waze, because Waze has a data about the user for the road. Because in order for you to use your Waze, you need to register. You need to put your age, so they know actually who is actually really use that particular road. So this data will be used by other companies, and this is how Waze make money. Okay, by using that particular data, but it's actually not violate the PDPA or any data, what we call that, data security or data privacy, because they just share in terms of not individual, but it's just share about the nature of the people is working there. It's not really based on individual data. So that's why it's not violate any things, but they can make use of that for their profit. And of course, nowadays we know we can use our wearable, and this wearable is actually helps to promote healthy life. How many steps, for example, you take every day? How about your heartbeat? How about your mood, right? Actually, in some of the wearable, they also capture our mood, whether we are in stress or not, whether we need someone to talk or not. So they actually monitor our health. So this is but how they monitor is based on the data they collected through the sensor. So that is very interesting. So many things we can do with data. So I hope you can also have another new perspective about data, because for me, everything that I look is actually have some data behind there. All right. So that's it become better in terms of making decision. So I know that in order to make decision, what I need to consider. Okay, not only just focus on one area. Okay. So this is about COVID-19. If you still remember, last 5 years, we're facing this issue. So later during our hands-on activity, we will use this data set in order to get some, gist about analytics. And sports, we just finished our World Cup. So I know most of you here also familiar and put effort to watch the World Cup and take the opportunity to watch the game and then do your own analysis about the game. But actually, if we use data, they are collecting a data about each of the player, how it works and so on. And from there, they can improve. They know what are they lacking and so on, right? And then, of course, by using this, they can help them to win the game. And for the summary, remember that analytics is about leveraging data for actionable insight. Analytics is all around us and shapes our daily life. Maybe we are the one who not notice, but actually is there. Every morning when we wake up, we either we produce a data or we consume a data. Okay, it's everywhere. You use your TikTok, you produce a data. Okay, to the TikTok analytics team. When you use your YouTube, actually you also produce the data to the analytic team. Of course, you are the consumer of the data. You are the consumer of the data product, because sometimes in YouTube, they already prepare for you the recommendation video. So you prefer that video. Actually, they just appear based on your recommendation, based on what you watched before, based on the data that given by you and also other people that maybe have similarity with your preference. Okay. And then it's all about data. It's all about probabilities. Okay. Very interesting. Analytics is a fuel of innovations and progress. And of course, we will use Analytic Cloud to deal with this. Okay, and then it's very interesting. You can see this Analytic Cloud is actually being used by the industry people. Okay, that's why the tool is quite powerful. And then we do data solutions, and of course it's actually a self-service analytic. And when we mention tools, this actually is quite easy and straightforward. Okay, and of course, finally, we try to expedite data analysis via AI-driven insight and machine learning capabilities. Okay, but for these 3 hours or 2.5 hours training, we don't have enough time to move into AI and machine learning. What we are doing now, we know about analytics, and then we try to use SSC tools to help us to get some idea. Because if we have our hands-on activity, it will help us to really understand how this data works. Okay, all right. So this is the session. So remember that now we are going to do, after this, we do our online training using SAP Analytic Cloud. The short form is SAC. So you need to have your Google Chrome. Okay. So I will share later. I will give you take a break for 10 minutes, and then later you will just have to, take your ID, because I will give you the detail later on. And then from there, we can learn to use SAC. So this is all the link for you to go through if you have time, if you're interested to know more detail about SAC, or you want to know more detail about analytics. Okay, so that's all about the introductions of analytics. Okay, it's not detailed, I know, but I hope it creates some awareness to all of you. And I hope you will not stop here. You try to grow your understanding about analytics, and you can make use it for your own, maybe during your study or maybe during your working area. Okay, any questions so far about this topic?
Well, it's such amazing explanations.
Yeah.
And